Hey guys, what's up? It's Gina. I'm back. This is my second part of my vlog on my opinion on the Vampire Diaries TV show. Now, in the last video, I talked about some of the kind of smaller changes that they made that didn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, I want to talk to you guys about the main characters in both the show and in the book and how they changed them and what my opinions are on those changes. So the first one that I want to talk about is one of my favorite characters in the entire series, and that's Bonnie. Now, Bonnie Bennett in the TV show is this tall, fashionable, a little bit sassy African-American girl who is a witch, and she has her grandmother there, you know, telling her about her witch heritage, and she's very, very close with Elena. Now, in the books, Bonnie and Elena are also very, very close friends, but that's where the similarities end. In the books, Bonnie McCullough, which is her name, is a short, slightly pudgy looking, if I remember correctly. Like, she's not super skinny. She has, like, meat on her bones, like they describe her that way. She's short, she's pale, she's got green eyes, she's got red curly hair, and she's Irish. She's very, very Irish. Don't ask me how short, you know, pale Irish girl turned into, you know, tall, skinny black chick. I don't know how that transition happened, but you know what, I don't really care because Katarina Graham, who plays Bonnie in the show, is a fantastic actress, and I love what she does with Bonnie. I love Bonnie in both the books and the TV show. I really do. I think both versions of Bonnie are really good, but there are a lot of differences. First of all, obviously, is the looks, which I just described, but also their personalities are really different. In the book, Bonnie is very quiet and very shy, very skittish, and sort of very unsure of herself, and she really loves Elena, and Elena is like the prim, proper queen of the school, sort of, and that I'm going to get into in a little bit when I talk about the differences between Elena in the book, you know, and in the TV show, so I'm going to digress from that. But Bonnie, you know, is very attached to Elena. Elena's status in school makes Bonnie's life a little bit easier, and Bonnie feels very outcast because in the book she's not a witch. She's a psychic, or a druid, as her grandmother says. Although her grandmother really isn't in the book, but she says that her grandmother always told her that she had the sight, I believe is what she refers to it as. And both of their powers in the book and in the TV show are fire-based. When Bonnie wants to channel a spirit in the book, she will stare into like the flame of a candle or something like that. However, she does not go, you know, lighting car washes on fire like Bonnie did in the TV show. That doesn't happen. I think that the Bonnie in the TV show is a lot of a stronger personality. She's a lot of a more independent woman. Bonnie is kind of very much like a young girl rather than, you know, an independent woman in the books. But she does grow up and get a lot braver as the books go on. As she becomes more comfortable with her powers and who she is, she begins to get this confidence, and she does grow as a character, which is one of my favorite part about LJ's books, is that her characters really progress. But I mean, those are the big differences between Bonnie. They really are two very different characters. The next character I wanted to talk about is the character Caroline Forbes, who I believe they actually kept her name the same in the book and in the TV show, which is a nice, refreshing thing, because they keep changing characters' names for no good reason. Caroline in the show is a friend of Elena's. She considers Bonnie her best friend, and she is kind of the victim of Damon's evil ways. He uses his mind manipulation on her to make her do stuff, and she kind of gets lost in the shuffle and feels very unloved and unappreciated, and like she doesn't really exist. She has a lot of that kind of thing going on in the show. In the books, Caroline is probably one of the biggest villains that Elena runs into, which might be a shock to some of the people that haven't read the books but have watched the series. Caroline is friends with Elena in the beginning of the book. But when Stefan comes to school, Caroline sees Stefan and decides that she wants him for herself. And when she realizes that Elena likes Stefan, it kind of becomes a battle of sorts. And Caroline starts pulling him away from the lunchroom during lunch break into private rooms and trying to hit on him, and she goes through a lot of lengths and does a lot of very immoral things to try and hurt Elena, none of which I'm going to spoil for you. But yeah, she is without a doubt one of the she's one of the most changed characters, I think, between the book and the TV show, is the way that I will put it. I'm not exactly happy with the way that she's handled in the TV show. I really like her as kind of the evil, vengeful bitch a lot more than, you know, Miss Victim that she plays in the TV show. Also, where Vicky and Tyler in the TV show have kind of a romantic thing going on, Caroline and Tyler wind up having kind of a thing going on between them, because Tyler is not a fan of Elena in the books either, so they do a lot of stuff together to try and ruin Elena, as far as, yeah, they just try and ruin Elena, that's all I'll say. And then, of course, the third character that I wanted to talk about, let me make sure I have time, I have a little bit of time, is Elena herself. Now, Elena, I think, is a lot more of a flat character in the TV show. In the book, she starts out as this very shallow, you know, I just came back from vacation in France from the summer, which she did in the beginning of the book, and she walks in and all the people flood around her and they want to be around her and they want to be her friend, and she's Miss Popularity, and she's very shallow and very materialistic. And as she falls for Stefan and she begins to learn about vampires and she begins to realize that the world isn't exactly the way she thought it was, she begins to grow up. And she begins to realize that the way that she treats people and the way that she acts in school isn't the way that she wants to be. And she really, really grows and matures and becomes a real adult throughout the books. In the TV show, like I said, she's a lot more flat. She comes off as the protective sister, which she didn't really need to do because there was no drug use in the books, so she didn't have, you know, Jeremy in the books doing drugs. She, you know, she just had her little sister. She was very upset and devastated by her parents' death, and she did do a lot to kind of smile and make it look like she wasn't in pain while she was at school. But, I mean, they're two very different characters. Elena is a lot more mature and nicer and more emotional and more concerned for her friends than she is in the books, at least in the beginning of the books, because like I said, she does grow up and she realizes that the people around her are more important than the things that she has or the status that she has, and she becomes a really amazing character in the books. But yeah, I mean, they're two completely different characters. So those are the three big characters that get changed. There is one other character that is very different in the books and in the TV show, and there's a character in the book who's major that got cut out of the show completely, and that I'm going to talk to you guys about in the third part of this blog, because I have about 30 seconds left. So stay tuned, because you're going to want to hear about that. If you haven't read the books, you'll be very shocked.